They'll ignore you. They'll ignore you without conscious effort and then tell you it's none of your business. They'll step on your face with a smirk while clawing their way to the top. They'll throw shit on the ground when no one is around and then just drive away. They'll make gasoline-powered noise to blot out the silence that makes them feel uneasy. They'll throw up cheap crap on good land, make quick bucks, and then leave town for good. They'll call you when you've had an accident and then drive up in a new Cadillac. They'll pimp real estate to gullible strangers like a mother bird feeds her tiny chick. They'll ignore the homeless as they drive by every day behind their tinted windows. They'll stay righteous beneath their fascist, literalist, fairy tale personal saviors. They'll spout gibberish and call for soundbite political debates with real scientists. They'll carry their canned, evaporated culture far from home and never see a thing. They'll piss you off with their thoughtless waste without ever even knowing it. They'll shame you to the civilized world with all their ignorant macho cowboy posturing. They'll spend thousands to go hunting but demand that all forests return a profit. They'll blithely support resource extraction, ignoring any and all of its long-term costs. They'll call birth control a sin but use the excess ignorant as their contract wage slaves. They'll never walk anywhere outside except to shiny vehicles parked nearby. They'll mouth the nonsense of televangelists and conservative think tank analysts. They'll work diligently on their pathetic golf games on grass that's a toxic green. They'll take pride in an ignorance pitched to them as tough, manly, and rugged. They'll no longer require your services once you've called them on their charade. They'll spoil and ignore their lazy children, but blame their failures on the schools. They'll unknowingly waste more every hour than most people earn in a month. They'll demand ever more criminally wasteful military money and call it patriotism. They'll support our troops with plastic bumpers on their sleek imported cars. They'll subsidize the enemy with hard cash every time they fill up at the gas pump. They'll idle their 300 horsepower engines to serve merely as personal room air conditioners. They'll go out for expensive meals prepared and served by the angry working poor. They'll refinance all of our futures and every one of us will have to pay. They'll drive to the wilderness and run loud generators to watch action DVDs. They'll ignore you and get way too close and then start making lots of noise. They'll always know lots about the latest bright and shiny consumer fad. They'll take tax-deductible ski vacations with their corporate mega churches. They'll get tough on crime but cheat on their taxes and shortchange their illegal workers. They'll be concerned for their security and burn bright lights, which also blot out all the stars. They'll call for roads to eliminate the congestion and then crowd them with their new tacky shit. They'll bulldoze native plants, then spend enormous sums maintaining artificial lawns. They'll cut your throat behind your back using canned and coded corporate catchphrases. They'll twist the words they've put in your mouth and then put them to use against you. They'll advertise for proactive self-starters who must also be good team players. They'll produce elaborate fictional schedules as they socialize in their meetings. They'll forget your name should they ever be unable to avoid meeting you face to face. They'll espouse laissez-faire evangelical social Darwinism, fueled only by short-sighted greed. They'll copyright your handmade ideas and then cheaply manufacture them overseas. They'll change lanes impatiently over and over again, angrily saving even more wasted time. They'll make sure everybody in the office thinks they work 12 hours every day. They'll be full of friendly small talk and jovial smiles when their boss should happen by. They'll mouth free enterprise while lobbying for their tariffs, subsidies, and tax breaks. They'll dismiss your ideas out of hand while endlessly quoting their gutless leaders. They'll drive up your property taxes and then buy you out to make a quick profit. They'll sell you on personal responsibility, but control your very bowel movements. They'll rule as corporate control freaks, but then plead ignorance to company crimes. They'll pay vapid, fast-talking salesmen princely sums to pimp their useless imported products. They'll get fat bonuses and stock options for their unfortunately immeasurable contributions. They'll cut your benefits, eliminate your position, and then renege on your retirement promise. They'll purchase influence and legislation to ensure their own continued success. They'll rend the very fabric of the living world and belittle you for not putting people first. They'll always chant of costs in jobs and money over environmental and safety concerns. They'll pass you at full and noisy throttle, then brake hard to turn off at the very next corner. They'll eat the pus-like middle of their white bread and then toss the phony crust aside. They'll speak of a love of peace while subsidizing their weapons-making sponsors. They'll pray to a God who rationalizes all their greedy and short-sighted actions. They'll praise democracy while buying votes and peddling their puny influence. They'll ignore you completely until it might cost them a bit of power or just a little money.